Guys, should I turn myself into Joe Exotic? And then I would go to the strip club haunted house.
What did you just say? Strip club haunted house?
Yeah. I'm monetized on like all my platforms now. I help her develop a lot of products. So we develop like a lot of like bloods and like special effects.
There it goes.
There we go. We back.
Back again, man. PDX Biz Talk. It's me and Johnny. You know, your favorite tag team. You're the dynamic duo, so some would say. But yeah, today we are out in what is this, Boring?
Yeah, we're in Boring.
About to do some fun stuff in Boring today. So as you guys know, if anybody is new tuning in, this is the PDX Business Podcast, PDX Biz Talk, where we talk to real business owners, real entrepreneurs and just have real conversations, man. And today is no different. As your host is me and Johnny. Like I said, I'm a video producer and recording artist, Young Mill.
And I said,
and who's this guy?
A few things, on a detail shop, a print shop. Yeah, so we stay busy.
Yeah, and we have a guest today, man, a really special guest. Somebody that we have not had on the podcast yet, and is also another woman-owned business.
Hey.
So this is going to be a really good one. Her name is Taelor of TaelorFX, and she specializes in go ahead and clap that up. Right. And she specializes in special effects, makeup, prosthetics, things like that.
Full body, everything. Yeah,
turning a beauty into a beast. All of the above, man. Mm-hmm. So this is Taelor.
Hi.
How you doing?
Guys. I'm so excited to be on this. Like I said, this is my very first actual sit-down podcast, so I'm super excited.
It took a minute for us to get, because you stay busy, you stay traveling, you're on tour.
I know.
Yes.
I really am. Imagine how my child feels, because I'm finally I had some time. I usually at the beginning of summer I have a little bit of downtime, so the second that I got the time I was like, let's do this, because I would love to I really wanted to do this.
Plus I had to find a location real quick.
Yeah.
Obviously the haunted house that we were going to do it at didn't work out, so they're doing something in a remodel.
Too much construction.
Yeah.
We're trying to redo a bunch of stuff there.
Getting it ready for the fall season, I imagine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about what you do. So in your own words, how would you describe kind of your field and what you do, who you are?
I feel like it would be it's always a hard thing for me when people ask what do I do? Because it's I do so much different stuff and I constantly push the boundaries and borders of what I do. So
yeah, she's like, what don't I do?
Honestly, kind of. But I do everything from, I got my start doing special effects makeup and in the haunted house industry. And then from there, I kind of joined a special effects makeup team that was selling everything from makeup to scenic design stuff. And then I started doing a lot of costuming stuff. In the haunted house industry, there's so many different avenues that I don't think people who aren't in the industry, they don't really understand. But there's so much that you can do from marketing, costuming, acting, makeup. There's so much. So I just kind of dove into all of that and started doing my artistic abilities, because I've always been an artist at heart.
I was curious about that.
And then I do, like I said, special effects makeup. I also do scenic design as well. So I do a lot of airbrushing. So I also work for another company that makes these huge foam sculptures.
Yeah.
They're hard coded, and then they come to me and then they give me an image and they're like, hey, I want it to look like that. So I sit and airbrush it. And
so it's kind of a little bit of set design, prop design.
Yeah, I do a lot of that. So
cool.
Kind of anything in the art realm, I can look at it and be like, oh, I could do that.
That's sick.
How old were you when you first started getting into it?
So what I do now, I would say that I was 19. I just gave birth. So I was a 19-year-old mom, teen mom. Mm-hmm. But I had no idea what I was doing. I was in community college. I took a couple painting classes that I absolutely fell in love with. I had an extraordinary teacher that literally just brought everything out of me. I took art in high school, and it was also something I just it was a hobby of mine. I was really into basketball. I was a baller back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to my senior year, I kind of got to this time where I was I played basketball my entire life. Do I want to go to college for this? Because I had opportunity too. Mm-hmm. And I just had this I've done this my whole entire life. This is all I've ever known. Do I actually want to continue it or figure out something else? And I decided let's figure something else. and then, became a 19-year-old mom. And so I was a stay-at-home mom for like a whole year, and it drove me fucking nuts. Like, shout out to all the single mothers and all the stay-at-home moms. Like,
Absolutely.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah, it's hard.
And like I said, I got to the point where I was going stir crazy. I was going nuts. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I had a whole ass baby.
Yeah.
And I was scrolling through Facebook, and I found like a ad on Facebook for a help wanted at a haunted house. And I've like always been into like spooky stuff. Like I posted on my Instagram the other day. I have a picture of me where I was like 3 or 4 years old, and I'm wearing like a straight up zombie mask and stuff.
Yeah, I see that.
Like even around holidays and stuff, like my mom would go all out for Halloween. We'd have like Halloween boo bashes at my house and stuff.
Boo bash. Yeah,
The boo bash.
I never heard about like a party.
Yeah. So my mom would throw like these Halloween parties. I feel like that's what like started my like, I love Halloween. Halloween is just like such a happy memory for me. So
Would you say that's like your favorite holiday or what?
yeah, of course.
For sure. That explains a lot. Huh?
Of course. I mean, like now that I'm older and I'm like actually working the haunted house world, it's very different from what it was when I was younger. Because it's all like work now, and I'm like super busy. And sometimes I'm not gonna lie, like sometimes like Halloween season comes up and I dread it a little bit because I just like know what it entails.
It's about to heat up.
Yeah, but for the most part, I mean, I love Halloween. Yes. I'm a spooky girl at heart. But yeah, I just got on this Facebook, and I was like, yeah, I'll be there. I want to audition or whatever entails. Like, I didn't even know what I was doing. I just showed up to this haunted house because I was like, I want to be a part of it.
I'm help.
But, yeah, well, get me out of the house. And so I decided to like, go there, and they interviewed me, and they're like, okay, so what can you do? And I'm like, everything. And really, I didn't know shit. I didn't know what I was doing. And they were like, well, like, I was like, I'm an artist. Like, I can airbrush and I could paint. I didn't know how to airbrush. I didn't know what Yeah, I straight up lied. I'm not going to lie.
Hey, you got to do it sometimes. Yeah. Get your foot in the door.
It's like the confidence. I was like, yeah, I know how to airbrush. I know how to like scenic design. I know how to do all that stuff. And they're like, they're like, okay, you're hired. And I'm like, oh shit.
YouTube now, right? Now it's time.
YouTube University. It's a real thing.
It is,
absolutely.
I know everybody hates on that, but like really though, like I think that's something that like really helped me out as it's a beginner, as like people who got on YouTube and like shared the wealth and like shared like their experiences and stuff, and like
the value.
Yeah, I mean, I watched so many people that influenced me, and like like really learning my craft too, and like learning things from them. And from there, like they had all the tools to my disposal. So like all the airbrushes, all the paint, all of the stuff that actually creates a monster was like technically free to me for my creative freedom. And like as a mother, single mother, I didn't have money for that. So I just like, I went buck wild. I totally dove into it. Showed up early, closed up shop. Like
you didn't let the opportunity go to waste.
No. Because I fell in love with it too. It was such like a fun environment working in a haunted house. Like even though it's technically like, you're open for a month, but the month that you're open, like the people that you work with, most of them have so much different stories. Right. You meet so many different people. Scaring never gets old either.
Never.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It was super fun. And from there, I worked with the same haunted house the next year. And I was really trying to like gun for like a management type. I wanted to
do something important.
Yeah. And so like I started putting in work with all that stuff. And within that next year, the haunted house that I was working for, they started up a special effects makeup company, and they also sold like fake blood and scenic stuff.
Right.
And just because I was around all the time, they asked me if I wanted to like come to conventions with them. And I was like, oh my God, yeah.
In there.
And before that, the only time I've ever traveled was like 8th grade. I went to Panama City in Florida.
Right.
Like never been on an airplane like that. And all of a sudden it was like I got thrown into convention life, where you're like constantly doing conventions in the summer. Like you're flying here, you're meeting people. And so like because of that, I got exposed to like so much at like such a beginning of like where I started that like I sucked back then. Like I didn't know what I was doing.
So you got kind of thrown into it, and now you have to perform and really like live up to the standard that you're traveling for.
I remember being at our booth and being like, okay, I'm going to do like a makeup demo today. And it was like 3 little scars on the face. Yeah. And I was like, man, this is cool. And now I look back and be like, dang, like I've grown a lot since then. And, you know, you're surrounded with people that were like on Face Off and all of these shows that like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Face Off. But
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it no longer runs, but it was on Sci-Fi and it was a competition show where people did special effects makeup and they got like thrown into like challenges and they had to make like these monsters and stuff.
And they would compete every week to see who moves forward.
Yeah, and so I grew up watching that too and being like, oh, that's super cool, but I never imagined I'd do something like that. And then all of a sudden I'm in conventions where we have booths where there's people that are like doing that same makeup right next to me. So like I'd constantly like kind of watch, but you know, I'd have to sell our product at the same time.
Of course.
But like constantly being around people who are like eons and miles of better than what I ever would think I would be. Really just like kind of pushed me too.
Yeah. That makes sense. So I was curious. So like talking about like how you learned, taking it back to like a little bit of the YouTube University stuff. So in this field, is it something that people typically go to school for to learn, or is like, how does the scene feel when it comes to like the education part and who can actually do it?
For me, I would have loved to go to school, but school, it's art school, really. I mean, and like, if you're a Nepo baby, like sure, like art school's great. Or, you know, there is some people that get grants and they go through school, but I know I had a really young baby at the time and I knew that like moving down to California or going to Florida, like that wasn't an option for me. That. So it was like, okay, what can I do here at home? And then just like keep building off of that. And like, there's people that have gone to school and they love it. And there's people that have gone to school and they're like, it wasn't worth it. So it's like, it really depends on like how you take things. And I think like that's just like a beauty thing as well. Like I feel like there's people who are just in the beauty industry too that have gone to like Paul Mitchell or like, you know, like named like known people or establishments. And that it's all how like you perceive and how you take your stuff and then you flip it and then what you do with it.
Right. So to me, it sounds like they give you some skills and you still are pretty much on your own afterwards, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's, like I said, that's with hair, that's with makeup, that's with like everything. I actually went to, I got my aesthetic license because at the time, I know Oregon changed it a lot, I think. But at the time, to work on the skin, you had to have your esthetician license. And so went to esthetician school and
How long did that take?
Like only a couple months. It wasn't bad, but it was like something where like I went into school already knowing like exactly what I wanted to do. And there was a lot of girls around me that were like learning how to do facials. I don't care about doing facials. Like I just want to be able to touch skin and like, you know, have a proper license for what I do. And not saying that you need esthetician to like touch skin and something. It was something like I knew like to do what I do, it would look really good on paper.
You want to be legit as you can.
Yeah, I mean, for a minute too, when I was in esthetician school, I was doing like wedding makeup and I was doing like beauty makeup. And that for me was like really soul sucking. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. After
I graduated, I worked at a amazing salon and I still love that salon so much. It was a really cute salon out in Portland. We did airbrush spray tans.
Oh yeah.
And like, that's where I like met my estheticians with like airbrushing skill that I already had. And so I loved working there. It was a super cute studio, but after a while, just it wasn't me anymore. Like I wanted to like do the thing.
Yeah.
So it was like almost like a supplement type income for me. And I was still really like building my brand and building who I was as well.
God. I'm curious, like, what would you say is like the biggest differences between the special effects type of makeup and like beauty makeup?
Application for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you're putting on a whole monster compared to like making
beauty
somebody
versus
like
the beast, right?
But there's a lot of things that coincide too. You know, just a lot of sanitary stuff comes into play. So like having the esthetician background, I had a lot of sanitary stuff that I already previously knew. So when it came to like putting on a whole mask on somebody and like, you know, all that type of stuff. You already have that prior knowledge. But other than that, I mean, there's a lot of things. Like I feel like with beauty, you have to have some type of artistic talent. And so that can kind of cross over when it comes to special effects. It's very different in the way of like how you actually put on something. Like, you know, like if I put on a mask, I'm not going to immediately put on foundation on the mask.
Gotcha.
Like you have a Pros-Aid and then you airbrush it and you have Pax paint. There's a whole different, but in the same sense, there's different levels. Like beauty makeup, there's, you know, you put on this first. And when it comes to special effects, you have to do this, and this first before you actually get the final product. So
it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
sounds like a lot of work.
is.
Because the pictures you posted online is like, I've seen like the one monster or like the alien with a bunch of eyes.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So like, is that like an actual like did you make that from scratch or is it like a thing
No,
you put on your face and then go around it?
I can make it, but I actually have a really good friend who owns a company that's solely what he does. So he takes clay basically and sculpts it all out, then takes positive and negative of it, cooks the foam, and then you get a mask, and then you have to like know properly how to apply it to a face and all of that. So I mean, it's a whole process. When people like, I feel like a lot of people, they're like, oh man, I want to be a monster. That sounds so cool. And then like, they don't realize like, not only does it take like forever.
Yeah,
it takes some time. And then also like, if you're claustrophobic, you're shit out of luck. Yeah.
Like what's your longest you ever had somebody like working on?
Probably like 3 hours.
Oh, okay.
But that's like me, like messing around, taking my time. I did a makeup competition last year up in Seattle, and we had 2 hours. And I still don't know how I did this, but I did like a full face, a full chest. The night before, I made up a costume in my hotel and got first place. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey.
But I look back and I'm like, dang, like how did I do that? Because we had to start from scratch. I mean, you know, when you put something like that on, you can't just airbrush the foam. Like you have to seal the foam. That takes a minute for just to seal it, and then it has to dry.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's a process for sure.
Seems like one.
Yeah, those competitions, like you don't really know how good you are till you go in there and like you're like, oh, how, like you said, how I did that? How do I get first place?
Yeah,
exactly. Because you're up against people who probably take it as serious as you do. A lot of times, so it's like, dang man, where do I really fit in the actual scope of the scene in the field? Like it's probably validating for you too, right?
It is, but I learned from the very beginning of my career that like the important thing to do as an artist is not to compare yourself to other artists, but like what you've done in the past. Like I've been really, it's like such a hard thing as an artist to like wrap your head around, but like if you can take your art that you're doing right now and then compare it to like 5 years ago. And if you could be like, damn, there's a difference, you're doing something. Like stop comparing to like face off people or people that have been on like TV and they're doing so much more than you. And like at the very beginning, I did that. And it's like such a discouraging thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially like as an artist, because like art is such like a vulnerable thing because it's like you're doing something for somebody else. Like, great, like art is creating, but you're being constantly judged. And that's literally art.
And it could be for some people and it wouldn't be for other people either. Like
it's also subjective too. Or it's like somebody's taste might be different. So they might think, oh, this is awesome. And you can't allow that to judge your own scope of like how you feel about your own work. Because it is passion at the end of it. And you should probably enjoy it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Especially what I do too. Like my mom wanted me to grow up and paint rainbows and butterflies. And then like I'm doing like scary stuff all the time, and it's like those people are like that don't understand like the process that goes in. They're oh, that's super cool, but at the same time too, it's just like they don't really understand like the lengths that we have gone to like you know, really learn the art of what it is too.
So let's talk a little bit about the business side a little bit. So as you're an independent contractor too, right? So if somebody were to want to book you for their project or their movie or their event coming up or something, how does that process look?
Many different ways, actually. I get a lot of DMs on Instagram, TikTok, and I get a lot of emails, but I try to funnel them all through email. And then from there, it's just basically what they want. Just because I do so many different things, it's like, okay, so what exactly do you want? Because I have a lot of people message me and they're like, oh, this is really cool. I kind of want that. And I'm like, okay, what do you want? Like body paint, special effects, or both? Or do you want me to come in and like redo a part of your haunted house? Or like you want me to sculpt a foam piece and then hard coat it and like airbrush it? So it's like getting to know exactly what they want. But all of that goes down in emails. And then I usually have phone calls with them just to like reassure, even Zoom calls too. Zoom calls are great, just because you kind of get that face to face.
Yeah, that communication is probably key for something that's such a big undertaking.
Especially because I get all different types of emails. I mean, we just did, me and my friend Jen that I work with, she owns the special effects company that I work for. We just did the world's biggest laser tag arena.
No way.
Yeah, in Illinois. And so they were tearing a big portion of it and they were rebuilding a big portion. And so we had many phone calls of being like, okay, so what do you want? So, okay, so it's black light. So we got to have the special effects company graffiti. Like we had to pack all of our like blacklight paint. So what is your square footage? What are we painting? What is the theme? And I mean,
so was that a spooky event or is that something totally different?
It was totally different. So they actually met us at a spooky event. So there's a really big trade show that goes down every year in St. Louis, and biggest Halloween trade show.
So beautiful out here.
Biggest trade show for Halloween stuff, and they do escape games. And so we caught this guy that was walking around looking for airbrush artists, and he came up to our booth while we were selling, and he's like, I need airbrush artists. And we're like, okay, so what do you need? And he's like, I own like the world's biggest laser tag arena in the US. And we're like, okay, keep talking.
Tell me more.
What do you need? He basically was adding on to it, and he was doing this awesome like Pandora themed he wanted everything black light, so that's what we do. It was all like whimsical and everything else.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I remember doing laser tag when I was young, man, and those little places were like, they were so dinky. And I bet that was more of an extravagant type of setup.
It had like all different layers to it too. Like it was
levels and stuff to
that sounds fun, man.
Yeah, it was fun though, and they were amazing people too. So we just it had a whole like game arena to it too. It had a bowling alley, a go-kart thing. So it was
like cosmic bowling too.
Yeah, it was
that
super
sounds like fun. We need something like that out here.
Yeah. I know.
So when it comes to the business side of things, when you have, did you learn the business side of things after you started going, or did you even care about it?
I do care about it because I mean it definitely matters.
Like when you first started though.
Like,
when
did you?
First, did you even think about, I'm gonna own my own business?
No. I just kind of, I feel like throughout my life, I just kind of like go with it and just like.
That's very common for entrepreneurs everywhere. So we understand.
So when did you figure out, okay, I'm gonna become I need to go get my LC and do this? Like, did somebody tell you, or you just learned on your own?
I had I just kind of am like maneuvering through life, and then I had like a couple people around me be like, okay, literally, you're getting serious, like. Time to get it going. Get it going. I never like pictured myself doing this truly. Like if you were to ask me 10 years ago and then tell me I'm doing what I'm doing right now, I'd be like
nah,
stop okay. Okay.
I think that's a lot of business people as well, when they get to business, like they're like, oh damn, like 10 years ago, like damn, even me, and everything. We didn't know we're gonna have what we have now.
Yeah, because you're just waking up every day, living your life and just working hard towards what you have passion for, and you look back, you're like, dude, I've come a long way. And sometimes like as entrepreneurs, we work so hard, we stay so busy that we don't even notice how far we come. I think that's super important for everybody, like just like exhale, inhale, and just sit back and reflect like, yo, we're doing something right here.
Too worried about the small stuff and not about the like actual bigger picture that we've created.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk about the TikTok thing real quick.
Yeah, let's talk about that marketing.
70,000 followers.
Oh no.
So was that all from just doing your makeup, or was something else happen in between that you got that many followers?
Just like you and I and probably all of America during quarantine, we downloaded TikTok because we were all like lonely, bored, and it was popping off at the time too, right? And so this is like, okay, so pandemic, Tiger King.
Yeah.
Same timeline. And it like, it took us on a chokehold and everybody was talking about it. So I was like, okay, I got to watch this. And I love doing like silly, goofy stuff and like comedy stuff. I also love that shit. So I posted a status on Facebook and I was like, guys, should I turn myself into Joe Exotic? And then everyone was like, oh my God, yeah. And I was like, okay, great. Meet me on Facebook Live. I got a bottle of tequila.
You did it live?
I feel like I remember this.
I did it live. And it's so funny because every March it comes up on my Facebook memories and I watch it and I'm like, damn, I did that live. And it's so embarrassing. I was chasing tequila with Pepsi. You know how disgusting that is? And I was just freeballing that out on Facebook. Wow. And so bad. And so I was drinking and I found like a year or two prior, my best friend, she was a go-go dancer at the time, and she had like this strawberry like blonde wig that she left in the back of my car seat. And I have like a whole box of like cosplay wigs and like stuff that like, you never know. I make stuff. Yeah. And I found it and I was like, oh, this is the deal. I called her up and I was like, listen, I have to cut this wig. I'll buy you a new one. She's like, I don't care. It's like $5 off a Wish. And I was like, thank God. And so
here comes Joe.
I put the wig on, I cut the bangs, and then I was like, oh no, this is gonna be a thing because it fits so perfect. Yeah. And I was like, like I can look at a picture and do like the whole face transition thing. Like I know you guys have seen it like on TikTok and stuff. So I was like, okay, great. Got on Facebook Live, did like a whole 3-part series, and then at the end of it, I was pretty tossed in the sauce, and I was a little turd. I was watching, I was like speaking an accent and stuff, and I was like, oh no, I need to stop. And so I got off, and I made like 2 or 3 TikToks, and at this point I had like maybe like 200-300 followers on TikTok, and I made like 2 or 3 like funny little TikToks, like was like a voiceover of him. And then I made like a like a get ready almost, but like
as him.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And then I posted it, and I woke up the next morning. I'm like, oh no.
How many?
Oh no.
Viral.
And my phone wasn't even loading because it was like it was going off, and I was like, oh God, what did I do?
You got to turn the notifications off.
And then all of a sudden I had like Nylon magazine, and then ET shared my stuff.
Whoa, wow.
And I was like, what is going on? This is so weird. And this is at a point where like nobody can even leave their house. Yeah. Thank God though, because I really do want to see anybody for like a solid like 2 or 3 months, because they're gonna be like Joe Exotic. Right. And then I had to be like, I can do more than that, you know? But I feel like from there, like I got like probably like 1.4 or 5 million views on it, like in an instant. And I was like, holy crap, like that's a power of social media. And so from there, like I started kind of like putting more into my TikTok, and then it just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. So
that's really cool.
Super weird though. I mean, like now I like to keep it like educational based and like actually show what I do with a touch of comedy every here and there. But it also was like one of those weird things where I was like, damn, like all it took me was to dress up like a man who does meth and sells tigers to like really like put myself out there when I do cool stuff already. I had like a whole realization moment that I was like, this is kind of sad in a way, because like I put out really cool stuff and this is all it took.
Man, yeah. So in the pandemic, like where was that along your timeline when you had started your business? Were you already doing a lot of special effects stuff at that time, or did that propel your career a lot and then you kept doing it, or was it like the beginning?
I would say, I feel like it was the beginning. Like, I feel like I started getting like a lot more serious into it, like 2019. And like, I had just did an art show like that January of 2020 and sold out everything of mine. And it was like a birthday art show that I did. And I just was like, oh man, like I want to get like way more serious with this stuff. And then obviously pandemic happened. And like I said, when I put out like the whole Joe Exotic thing, like I was not expecting
to blow up like that, huh?
Not at all. And then when it did, I was like, okay, so like, who do I do from here? Do I like hide away because there was a big portion that I was like, I don't want to see anybody.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then I was like, well, I could take this opportunity to like keep building on my platform and like reaching out and keep like creating, and like everything started to kind of like fall in place. Like the year after quarantine, I was key on a series on Peacock, which was a super cool experience because I never got to really work in, you know, the quote unquote Hollywood-ish area and like film and stuff. I've kind of like only done stuff independent. So that to me was really eye-opening because I loved doing it, but I also realized like the whole film aspect and all of that, I wasn't there in a sense where I wanted to keep doing stuff, and then later on I want to go back to film because it's a rush to wait, and I'm a busybody, and I like I like the constant go. So it was a great experience. I had my aunt actually was sitting at a bar way up in Washington, almost like Canadian border. She was listening to somebody else talk about how they needed airbrushing and blah, blah, blah. And so she chimed in and she was like, hey, my niece does this, blah, blah, blah. Like small town, like out in the middle of nowhere, right? And so this company ended up hiring me and my friend, and they owned a foam company where they do theme scenic stuff, where they take like big foam blocks and then render it out, hard coat it, and then it comes to like me to airbrush. And they were like, hey, like, we just took on this huge project. We really need airbrush people. Here's the deal. We're doing a mini golf course for a brand new cruise ship. Do you want to go to France for a month? And I'm like,
say less.
I was like, man,
I'm packing my bags.
I gotta think about this. So we worked on this project, and we got to go to the south of France in January for a month. And I mean, it was crazy too, because it was like the height of the pandemic. So it was like when Delta came out, or like the second end, or there was like the big pandemic, and then it got okay for a while, and then ramped up to like Delta. And so traveling overseas during that was the biggest nightmare. I had like a stack of papers like this big, just to travel anywhere. And it was like we had to travel for work, and then we got on this cruise ship and we couldn't leave for a month.
Wow.
We couldn't get off this cruise ship. And
so you're trapped?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. We had our own stateroom, which was nice. So I didn't like share anything. We had to get COVID tested every single day.
I bet.
But it was an incredible experience. Like, we were sharing a boat with people, like hundreds of people that were also like building parts of the ship too. And we were like primarily there was only one other group that was American. So like everybody spoke, like, I've never sat in a room and heard so many different languages in my life. And it was like really eye-opening, like holy crap. It was amazing though. It was really cool. It was a really cool experience. And I mean, the ship is like cruising around, and I can be like, yeah.
Was it like an actual cruise ship?
Yeah. Biggest cruise ship in the world.
Damn.
Wow.
Not, well, it's now not, because they just unveiled a new cruise ship.
Right.
But yeah.
So what was that project for when you were over in France? What
mini
was
golf course, actually. Yeah. So we did a whole mini golf course. And what was really crazy is at the time that we did it, we were subcontracted from a company that actually like lays turf and stuff for the mini golf course.
Right.
And half their team got sick with COVID. And so they all had to be like taken away essentially. So
did they finish the job yet?
Yeah, we stepped in, we helped them like lay floor and everything. Like, I learned how to lay turf.
That was like quite the experience, honestly. So with all the makeup and effects and all the different things that you do, all of this sounds extremely difficult to me. So,
for real.
So what, are there any stories where like everything just went wrong?
I mean,
or has it just always been pretty smooth?
It's never smooth. It's never smooth. I mean, like when we were on that cruise ship, we were at the top deck and we had all these huge pieces, and the only way to get them was a crane, and the French went on strike. And so the crane operators were like, we're going to work 2 hours a day. And we're not going to deliver your stuff.
That's
so
crazy.
There was like a couple hours, like we were only supposed to be there like 2-ish weeks. And then we ended up being there like a little over a month because it took them so long to get our stuff. So it's like, there's just so many things that can go wrong. But like, as a makeup artist, as like an artist in general, like, I think it's a very like, you just figure it out. You figure it out as you go. like you're gonna run into problems no matter what.
Yeah. Are you somebody who works well under pressure and deadlines and stuff like that? How do you deal with that?
Fantastic. I'd rather work under pressure. I feel like I do so much better under pressure, and like I don't know what I'm doing because that's like my constant state of life. Like I constantly don't know what I'm doing, but I'm like, okay, got it.
It's working out so
good
far.
though. It's good because some people might freeze up under pressure and just like freak out, and then nothing ever gets done, and then it blows up all in their face.
Yeah, I feel like if I go into it knowing exactly what I'm doing and like how everything's planned, and having like a schedule and everything, like I get even more nervous because I'd rather just
too prepared,
freeball it and like just go
just
out
go
there.
for it.
Yeah.
Are you pretty booked out right now, or how booked out are you with work and stuff?
A little bit. I have a couple things coming up. We're going to Chicago, and then I also am dealing with a production company that's Emmy Award winning, and we are going to be going into the TV space.
Oh, nice.
So I can't really talk about it, but
I'll be an extra.
Netflix.
I'll be an extra. I'll be in there.
But something that's like really exciting that I can't wait to eventually talk about. But it's me and the two other females that I work with that are amazing. They also worked in the industry with me. So yeah, it's gonna be. I'm really excited.
And you work for Fear? Is it Fear?
Fear PDX.
PDX.
Yeah.
So and that's what exactly? Haunted house, right?
Yeah, it's a haunted house attraction.
Is it all year round, or is it only for October?
We do September, October. Sometimes we do like a Christmas show or a Valentine's show, but it all depends on like where we're at that year.
And it's not so Fear PDX. Do they travel around different areas in the city every year, or do they have their own location?
Nope, just one location. We're off of like 122nd and Gleason.
How do they make money the rest of the year then? Like what else do they do?
That's always wondered about too.
Yeah, so actually, you'd be really surprised how much Halloween is like a $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
So people who own haunted houses, like you think like, oh, they're open like 1 or 2 months. There's people that make substantial money in that time frame, but also that haunted house, they actually they own the special effects company that I used to work for, called Rip City Effects. So I used to work for them, so they have a whole place there where they also make,
so they have
fake
that stream
blood.
income
Yeah, but you'd be really surprised, people who are like not in the industry, like it can be like if you have a really good haunted house, you can really do some things.
I can imagine.
Is that the one you work for? Because there's more of them right around here.
Yeah, there's more. Over the years, a lot of them have came and gone. I used to work for one that was in Gresham, but I moved on from that. Just wasn't a good fit for me anymore. So I went to Fear PDX. So I've managed over there the makeup team for a couple years now.
And you're still doing it this year and for like forever pretty much?
Yep.
Dang.
Yep. It's nice because even though like I technically, moved on and quit from the special effects company that they
still
owned.
hire you on for that.
Yeah, do they know you from that, or was that something that directly led to that, or did you just?
Yeah, so it was bought over by the guy who owns Fear PDX. So I was working for a different haunt that actually owned that company. And then when he, when that haunted house dissolved, he sold it to the guy who now owns Fear PDX. And I just like kept with the team, and then he hired me on. I had known him previously because like it's a really small industry.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody. But yeah, I just kept on with it.
It's a small multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah, it is. Man, I tell
a lot of money going
people,
around.
like when you go to conventions and stuff, like haunted house people, I mean, you can imagine they're crazy. They're crazy. And I love them though. There's so many there's so many different walks of life though, within the industry, especially people, like I said, that people who work in the industry, whether they're actors, they do ticketing, like makeup. There's so many different types of people, but haunted house people are definitely my people. Yeah. They're super fun.
During Halloween here, the haunted house here, do you work like full time there is it 2 weeks long, or how long is the
So we
actual thing?
Typically start like the last two-ish weeks of September, and then we go to like the first week of November. And so I'm there almost every other day or every day, except for like Monday, Tuesdays.
What about nights when people are there? Are you there too, like all night while they're working?
How long are those days?
So my crazy schedule last year, because I'm nuts. So I would get there at like 3:00 in the afternoon and like, you know, have everything figured out, everything ready to go for my makeup artist, make sure we're ready, go with the costume designer, make sure she's all ready for the night, and just like go around if anything needs fixing, touch-ups, whatever in the haunted house, get everything ready for the night. And then we would start makeup and then get all of our actors done. They would go typically out like 6:30 because the haunt would open up around 7. And I'd get everybody ready and then wait about like an hour to clean up. I'd pack up all my stuff and then I would go to the strip club haunted house.
Slow down. What did you just say? Strip club haunted house?
Yeah,
Where are we going this year?
Calendar just cleared up.
That's like the most Portland shit ever. But
That sounds like it for real.
yeah, Portland has a like a little haunted house strip club.
Is it at a strip club or somewhere else? That's not a strip. What strip club is it?
It was at Guilty Pleasures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so
Is it supposed to be scary or is it just like a thing?
I don't know. Honestly, I didn't have time to go through it. I got contacted by the guy that runs it, and he was like, hey, like, is there any way like you could come to the club and do like a couple makeups really quick before we would open at 9? And I'm like, okay. And so like I'd wrap up my makeup at the haunt, and I'd leave for like an hour and a half because it was like right around the corner from our haunt, and I'd go do like a couple like strippers up and makeup, and like make some money there, and then go back to the haunted house and keep managing and like make sure make sure my my makeup team was all cleared, and then get on my radio and then walk around the haunt and make sure everybody's in their spots and they're doing their stuff. So yeah, that was my season last year. I don't know if I'm gonna do that this year because it was
a lot on your plate.
It was a lot. There was a couple times I sent some other crew of my makeup artists. I was like, "Are you guys want to make money tonight? You gonna go to the strip club?" But I mean, it was fun though. It was fun. But yeah, I mean, that's haunted house. You're just like constantly going. I feel like November, I usually always do a big vacation because I need it.
Oh yeah.
Because it gets so busy during October. But over the past 2 years too, I really like slowed down in a sense of like what I do of like photo shoots, because I try to like jam pack it so much that in a sense like it kind of took the fun out of October and Halloween for me. So I try to like be better at that, but then when October comes, I usually always overschedule myself. So
October kind of feels like it's kind of like your Super Bowl in a way, and that's what it sounds like. So like when it's not October or Halloween season, how do you still get business out there? Are you still booking, and have you found a way to monetize your social media yet?
Yes, all of the above. Okay, so off season, I usually work for that film company. So they're up in Washington, so I'll go up there for like a week and work for a week. But I also, in that same breath, we are the last people that touch piece. So like when we go up there, everything has to be sculpted, has to be hard coated. So we're the ones to like airbrush it and put the finaling touches. Yeah. So it also is like depending on like their project load and how everything goes, and for some reason it just coincides. So like usually after October, I have like a week or two where it's fine, and then we'll have like a huge project up north that we have to finish. Right. And so and that has kind of carried me through like the quote unquote slower months. They're not slower months. I'm just like not at home. I'm not at home. And then like in between that too, like I get random messages all the time for like this, that, and the other, for like whether it be like music video shoots or photo shoots, or people that like fly in from somewhere else and they're like, hey, I just searched Portland, Oregon, body artist, and you came up, like, are you free? It happens so often. Right. So everything in that. And then, like with social media too, is like I have really put so much into it. And like, I mean, everybody likes to like downplay on like, oh, like the influencer era and like all that stuff. But like baby, if you're monetized, like get the
helps.
change.
It's a real
it really
job.
helps. It really does. And it helps on like those slower months too, where it's like, if I'm like bored and I don't have anything to do, like make a couple TikToks, get some change for it. Like that's all I have to do, because I'm monetized on like all my platforms now. So like no matter what I put up or out, like I'm making some type of money, and that's better than nothing at all.
Absolutely.
So like
and it's just making content, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem like it's that hard, does it to you?
Yeah, and I mean it is in the same sense, because like there's something that's really vulnerable about like putting a lot of your life out on social media that like was like I've always been very out there with social media, like even like back to MySpace days, like your girl's shit was popping on MySpace back then.
I had hella
and so
friends
like
back
I
then.
kind of like had to like, you get it, I know you get it, like you just kind of like have to keep going with that. And like I remember, I mean like so many people like try to hate on it, but at the same time, like now like you can make money off of it.
Yeah,
so
it's
like
a new age.
Yeah,
it's not the same as just posting some stuff out there and not going to college.
Well,
You know
also
what I'm saying?
like I think we had like this brief moment like pre-pandemic into pandemic where it was like very like influencer. I mean, there's still influencers, but like if you can be an influencer that provides like some type of educational purpose or purpose to somebody's life, like why not put that out there? Like
Absolutely.
I've had so many people come up to me and they're like, thank you for not gatekeeping. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's content, but yeah, like I'll teach. I mean, I've taught classes all over the place, and I love teaching. Like probably if I wasn't an artist, I would be a teacher. But I love doing that same thing too. But I have a bunch of things that we're changing on my platform that we're gonna really start to monetize stuff, especially like moving into like more of the TV space. There's a bunch of like bigger changes on my end that I'm trying to navigate, and it's all kind of like
I can imagine.
new and weird to me, because it opens up like a lot more audience, where it's kind of scary if you think about it, because it's like more eyes and more judgy eyes.
Of course, yeah.
Like what are you gonna look at on the internet when you sign in? It's gonna be a bunch of people that are like, what the hell is this girl's problem? Or like, oh, she's cool. But regardless, I don't even care anymore. Like I've gotten to this point where I'm like, I'm just gonna post stuff, you know, like
screw it.
speak to my own crowd. And
because the more people who are seeing is like the more lives that you can affect. And I mean, it sounds kind of like, well, but we're business oriented. It's still more customers too at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the non-fluffy side of it. But so as you know, like when it like I said, with like more customers or whatever, like I could see you doing something in the space where you create your own product. Is that something that have you seen that for yourself in the future?
One day. I've got lots of ideas, and like I said, I also work with like my best friend. She owns Graffiti FX, and we I help her develop a lot of products. So we develop like a lot of like bloods and like special effects. Science, and also just being in the industry. Like I'm a makeup artist. I know what works and what doesn't work. So like, you know, I've helped develop formulas and like, you know, just the science to a lot of things too. Like the internet is your best friend, and there's so much stuff. Like you can hire chemists, you can hire all these people that will help you develop product. If you're like, hey, this is like kind of what I want, this is the base I want, this is what I'm going for, there's people that are out there that will help you develop something too. So it technically doesn't always have to be like something that you created. There's so many people out there that will help you develop something. Like if you have a vision, like why not ask those type of people to get everybody involved too? Exactly. So
that's great.
But in the future, I would love to have there's a lot of things I would. It's all stored in this little noggin of mine. But we'll get there.
Like, do you have specific products you want, or everything?
Like, what do you use the most that runs out? Like,
that's hard. I feel
we're working backwards here.
I feel like airbrushing is the most thing I do. Like entails almost everything. But we have an airbrush line, the company that I work for. That's fantastic too.
And that's for the skin, right?
Yep.
And how
Skin.
long-
So it works on skin. And then we also have a scenic product. So that also works on, like recently we started doing mobile escape games for a company. So,
Sounds fun.
so basically it's these tents that we painted in UV chroma depth. So if you don't know what that is, it's like you put on 3D glasses, and because the UV sits the way it does, it looks 3D. So you paint in certain colors in certain ways, where you put on the glasses and you walk into this room, you have to solve a mobile game, like escape game.
Yeah.
And it's like really disorienting, but everything looks 3D when it's just painted 2D.
I can imagine myself just walking right into a wall.
I know. Me too.
It
clumsy like that.
It happens. But yeah, so we make skin and scenic stuff too.
That's really
How
cool.
long does that last on someone's skin, or is it easy to take
A
off?
long time. So we make an alcohol-based one. So alcohol-based stays on the skin a lot longer. It's sweat-proof, where like a water-based product, you're gonna probably sweat
can
that
run.
off.
But how does someone remove it if they want to remove it that night?
So we have a special remover.
Oh, okay.
And then also, soap and water gets most of it off. But we have like a specific remover that like really takes everything off.
And that doesn't dry out your skin? You know how like
Nope.
if you put rubbing alcohol on your skin, it's going to
Yeah.
dry out?
Nope.
Yeah.
We have a special product that literally doesn't dry you out, and it
that's
takes
dope.
everything off.
That's
I
great.
see. That's quite smart.
Okay, so let's dive back into that teaching phase a
Yeah.
little bit. So I want to kind of like pick your brain for somebody out there who may want to follow in your footsteps or do something similar when it comes to like on makeup or on-screen stuff or beauty even. So like for you, when you were coming up, when you first got started, what was something that like you were dying to know about your industry that you kind of had to figure out the hard way that might help somebody else out there?
To be completely honest, I wanted to learn from people who were like doing crazy stuff, and I didn't really find that. And so like I feel like that's maybe like a big reason why like I'm so like non-gatekeeping, and I
So
like
now you're
want to
that person.
teach. Yeah, I want to
Oh,
teach
yeah.
people how to do things. I mean, mind you, there is a ton of people that like I found on YouTube and everything else, but like I didn't find a lot of people within my community to like guide me along. When I went to like conventions and stuff, I met a ton of people that were like willing to like, I guess, help me or like put me on the right path. But a lot of that was like my own research, my own like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to post this. And like at the very beginning, like I feel like people kept being like, oh, that's a cute hobby. That's a cool
They
hobby.
weren't taking you serious, huh?
And then I was like, okay, whatever. And I just like kept posting and kept doing my thing, and then like just kept building off of it. And so like now I'm at a point where I have a lot of people that are like, hey, can I hire you to teach? Can I hire you to do this? And it's like, it's a really like, it's a cool feeling, like, but I also, like I said, I really do love being that person for people. Like I always, like when I do conventions and when I go here, there, and everywhere, like I always tell people like, hey, if you have any questions, like please DM me. Like please hit me up. Like I will point you in the right direction. I will show you how to do this, that, and the other, like everything, because like just having somebody else in the industry that does the same thing is going to be so much more worth it than having somebody that you're gatekeeping from, and they don't like. Building a community within your industry is just like so incredibly important.
I think so too. Sometimes like I had the same exact problem. Like I really wanted to work with bigger artists, or I really wanted to get these different opportunities, but it wasn't that easy. So like it's always great to reach back and be able to provide those opportunities for people who, you might see the talent in them or the drive in them, but it's just being in such a small market or a small like area. Sometimes those opportunities aren't there, but it's also super important to just like hit the ground running, because the more that you put yourself out there, the more that you like grind for it. I know it's kind of like cliche grind it.
But it's true though. It's what you got to do.
But you got to like put yourself out there and like actually you got to go to those people, find your tribe. Like you're going to the events and the conventions. Like the more you put yourself out there, the more people you meet, like it'll start to build around that, bro. And just next thing you know, you are the person you've been trying to find, know?
Absolutely. And it's like, I was just talking to you earlier about this, is like, I feel like in the past, like 2-ish years for me, that I've started to like actually really get recognized in my industry. And those same people that I've always looked up to, people that like shared advice from me, are the ones that are coming up to me and like asking me questions
Yeah.
and congratulating me. And it's like this whole like really weird, like, whoa, like this is a lot, but it's also like what I've always wanted, like always, like it comes back full circle for sure.
And you're still learning every day as well. Like,
oh yeah. I mean,
the people that you look up to are still learning every day.
Yo, you could have somebody walk in and they could be like, they don't even know what they're doing, and I could still learn from them. Like, you never know who you're gonna learn from, and that's such a big takeaway too. It's like you can constantly be learning. You will constantly be learning throughout every adventure that you do. So
yeah.
So is there any closing advice that you have for upcoming special effects artists or prop designers? Or
create a community and vibe with your tribe, and stop comparing yourself to other artists, especially if they are either just beginning out or they've been doing it for years. And just really keep pushing yourself. Like, I don't know, like you gotta keep going, like keep posting your stuff, even if it looks like dog crap. Like you're gonna have those memories in like 2 to 3, 4 years that you can come back and be like, damn, like I really grew from that. So like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Like I say that all the time. I'm the first person that I'm like, I'll throw myself out into any situation, and being willing and able and open to that is such a big part of growing. So
that's
great. Go for it. Live your dreams.
Yeah, bro. For me, that was always big as heck. I grew the most when I started putting myself in uncomfortable situations where I was like nervous about things, and then
if you're comfortable, you're not growing.
Yeah,
like, straight
exactly.
That's where I am right now with doing this.
Yeah, bro.
Because usually I'm like behind the scenes with the music videos all him, on stage all him, when he used to perform. But now it's like, hey, we're doing this.
He's got a YouTube channel now.
I got a YouTube for my Epic, So
just keep building off that.
Absolutely.
It's different, but hey, it's just like, out of the box.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you for joining us on this podcast. It was such a good time, and learning all your story and what you've been doing for the last couple of years and getting your business off the ground and growing it to the scale it's been. It was very very enjoyable for us to have you.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys for having me.
Is there anywhere that they can find you at? What is your socials?
Instagram is TaelorFX, and just make sure you spell it right. I know it's spelled a little different.
It's spelled
TaelorFX, and then my TikTok is TaelorFXX, and you can find 2 X's. You can find all my stuff on there, and just pay attention because there's some stuff that's about to come out.
Big announcements coming.
And you guys are like the first people I'm telling this about too. So you got the exclusive.
We got the exclusive
part 2, maybe.
Yeah, we might need to follow up after the announcement.
You guys should. I would love to have my 2 best friends that I work for, because we're insane.
Yeah,
we're all
crazy team.
we're a crazy
cool.
team.
Yeah,
we would love to be on the.
Absolutely. Well, tell them, Johnny, what they need to do, man. They need to smash some buttons and drop some comments.
Subscribe, the subscribe button. Like our channel, or like our everything we have. Comment, share it to a friend. See you guys on the next one.
Absolutely. See you. Peace.